before we sort of close out with our final points on some of the research work that we're going to be looking to do, touching on some of these issues with Dr. Wakacha, I'd just like to call on Eloy if you have any reflections on our thoughts here.
Yes, this infrastructure topic is very much top of mind also for PGGM, as we've been building a direct infrastructure capability over the past 10 years. It's extremely important to have, in our view, to have critical mass. So you can either build critical mass together with like-minded peers, but you can also build critical mass, for instance, for a more direct investment style, where, for instance, working together with engineering companies. So, for instance, in the Netherlands, we also do we're willing to take some level of greenfield risk in developing projects. But there we have a partnership with engineering companies where we bid on projects, they do the development part, and as soon as the project becomes brownfield, they have the guarantee that we will offtake that project, take it off their balance sheet, and then we will be running the risk of that project once it's brownfield. So I think one of the issues of building a good infrastructure capability is the right type of partnerships, critical mass, and also building the right team. So we invested a lot of resources in actually building an internal team to do these things. Well, initially, 10 years ago, we started investing in fund of funds. And at that stage, we just saw there was just too much misalignment because we were paying such amount of performance fees and management fees to the intermediaries that we decided to cut out the middlemen and go direct. The only disadvantage of the direct strategy is that it has more or less limited ourselves to doing large deals in Europe and North America. And because you need a local, if you go direct, you also increasingly need a local presence. So now we're discussing of opening a local office, for instance, in Canada, and some point in the future to be closer to the projects. We have people flying up and down to North America constantly. And we also had an experience which actually unfortunately changed our strategy in emerging markets. We were building the largest windmill park in Middle America, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the state of Chiapas in Mexico. Unfortunately, that project, it was a 1.3 billion euro project. We worked together with Mitsubishi and Macquarie in building that windmill park. And we actually wrote down 130 million in equity on that park because although we had all the licenses in place, we already brought the windmills in from Vestas to actually install there. We had local problems. We had riots with the local population that would not allow us to put the windmills in place. So we did not want to have any kind of violence on the ground or police kind of securing the fact that, we could build there. So we actually wrote off that investment, but then trustees turned back to me and said, look, we don't ever want you to do a huge, risky greenfield project in the emerging market anymore because we've never had to write down that kind of money on a project. So that's been very unfortunate for us because that has limited our activity in emerging markets through fund of funds. And with the cost structure being as it is, we've subsequently focused our activities on North America and Europe. So it's a conundrum to a certain extent, and I really do hope that we find new kinds of partnerships in the future, new types of institutions that can help to bring this capital to work globally, because I do think if you have a 5% infrastructure allocation as we do, which will be growing up to 25 billion at some point, we think, growing even from 5 to 10% of our portfolio, then you do need really a global presence, and you cannot limit yourself to North America and Europe. So I think this is a trend which will gain in importance, and I think in Africa you're being very innovative to build the right type of partnerships and structures. You will actually attract this foreign capital.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.